Within museums, scientists, anthropologists, archaeologists, and historians are constantly working to collect, study, preserve, and understand the mysterious artifacts of the past. In London, there is a very curious museum which has been rejected by science for a long time, and which harbors mysteries that the vast majority of people would not even have the courage to try to investigate. This is the museum known as Merlin. And of course, I'm going to invite you to tag along with me on this one, because I'm Tiago Tadeo, and welcome to the Upside Down. After being abandoned for decades, the City of London had scheduled the repossession and demolition of an old house, which was already falling apart. All of its former residents had long since passed away and had not left it for an heir, for example, so there was no one to claim to want the house back. However, before they could tear down the house, a team of inspectors was sent to the site to see if there was anything of value left behind or some other, complication that could prevent the demolition from actually happening. In there, they found nothing but a dilapidated house, but everything changed the moment they found a basement door that was completely sealed. Family. This was something very curious, and they feared that they had even maybe found the secret base of a serial killer. Thus, the police were called and together they invaded the basements. However, to everyone's surprise, instead of entering a lair of a villain, they came across a collection, but it wasn't just any collection. This was perhaps the scariest one anyone could find. After what happened, the pieces were separated from the house, which ended up being demolished in the end, and from there a study was started. Over time, they identified the person responsible for creating that collection. His name was Thomas Theodore Merlin, and he was a teacher who was born in 1782 in Hellingshire, which is in the north of England. His family was very rich and powerful, composed by several aristocrats. His mother, who died during childbirth, left him alone with his father, who was an army general. So he had a very lonely childhood and sunk into his studies. He developed an unconditional love for esoteric science, using his family's resources to travel the world in search of elusive artifacts and hidden species that supposedly were part of forgotten continents, or even haunted places where most people would never even dare to lay their feet. Thomas argued that these creatures were common, but everyone put quite some effort in not believing what he said, destroying any and all evidence of the existence of these creatures. So he made it his life's mission to find and preserve as many of these beings as he could, storing them in his basement, which was sealed off by one of his former employees after his death. Despite being greatly opposed by the general public, Thomas's findings ended up falling into the hands of people who were really interested in maintaining his tradition. And that's how the Merlin Museum was born, where his, as well as any other mythical creatures that were found all over the world, could be preserved and properly studied as well. The creatures displayed in this museum are not only scary, but really grotesque. So they leave a lot of that romanticized imaginary of what mythological beings would look like behind, and show the real hidden monsters that would be able to make anyone have nightmares. In it, we have creatures that resemble small human skeletons with bat wings, others that have bone structures that resemble dragons, or even beings that we, until now, believe are just part of people's imagination and not real life. Thanks to Merlin's work, even for those who don't believe they are true, just having an attempt to research this hidden information makes us think about different things happening around the planet, right? Especially because nothing guarantees us that the current consensus can't be wrong, as it was many times before. However, the confirmation of the existence of these beings would cause a huge problem in the world, right? Just imagine, you suddenly discover that there were beings that before didn't exist outside the realm of your imagination. But wait, there's more to it. Because of this fear of this whole story being made public, supposedly a large part of the scientific community would not want to investigate these creatures found in the Maryland Museum, thus discrediting the work that was being done by him. Of course, in the view of many of these scientists, just doing that would already be a huge waste of money and time with something that goes directly against everything that has been discovered so far. A few points that go against Maryland's case is that the deformity in ancient fossils, especially in religious artifacts, turned out to be more the result of a macabre work than a mythical creature in itself. We have the example of the ritual practiced by the Shuar indigenous tribe, who live in the Amazon and produce miniature heads through a ritual in which they shrink the skulls of their opponents with the help of a stone oven, creating a shrunken head, sort of mummified. If you found one of these by chance, without having much information, it would be easy for you to believe that it was a small humanoid race, right? Just as Europeans imagined in the past who had contact with the tribe during the Great Voyages that these were, in fact, skulls of another species. However, guys, technically it would still remain a human. In addition, it is not new that the bodies of mythical creatures such as mermaids and giants are found here and there. But in the end, it is discovered that it was all a big setup. He was definitely not the first person to come up with the collection of mythical creature pieces, to put them on display to the public that in the end turned out to be nothing more than a forgery, right? Thus, there is a high possibility that none of the pieces preserved in the museum are actually real. However, if the scientific community is so sure of this, it wouldn't cost anything to prove it once and for all through investigations, right? Well, I need to talk about the reality, this topic here, because the only problem with false claims would be related to deceiving the public, but that doesn't detract from the work, right? If you are a fan of esoteric things, you will surely find these works really intriguing, even if they are not real, as they would be very well done artistic representations of folk creatures. I'm one of those people who defends good entertainment if it's fun after all, because you don't see anyone pointing their finger at the screen during the Avengers movie and saying, "No, this isn't real, Thanos for sure doesn't exist." I defend that even if they are all artistic works with their veracity grossly exaggerated by a man who is living in that space, we do have to, in one way or another, appreciate it, even if it's from an artistic point of view, right? But of course, it's all merely opinions. But what about you? Do you believe these creatures are truly real? Or no one wants to do any research on the matter so as to not come upon more questions? I want to know your opinion, okay? This video will end here. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see each other in the next video. Take care, and until next time, peace.